Hello, my IMers. If you're watching for the first time, I'm Nasedi. If not, welcome back. As you know, we're never alone. I'd like a panel, but Daniel won't let me be great. Anyways, I'm projecting. Okay? But anyways, welcome back. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to. If you can see the topic, we're talking about studying abroad and working abroad. And I'm joined by a very well-traveled, handsome young man. Siya, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad. It's so difficult to get here. We got him by mistake, by the way. It just happened. He happened to be in South Africa, guys. During the COVID, he's busy, he's out there, he's jet setting. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm home now, so it should be fine.
For how long? Anyway, see, I'm so happy you're here. I know you don't watch our show. It's okay, you heard about it today.
Yeah.
So I'm not even gonna make it a big deal or make you feel nervous or like awkward, which you should, but whatever. We usually start off with a quick fire.
Okay.
Just to make you look calm, but just usually people are like afraid of us. I don't know why. So just to get you calm, to get you easy into the interview, it's a quick fire. We ask you about 4 or 5 questions. We give you 2 options and you answer the one that you like the most or appeal to the most.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Tequila or Jaeger?
Tequila.
Silver or gold?
Silver.
Ah!
It's a weapon against like mythical.
What? Ooh, see ya. Okay, it's your liver. It's okay.
Yeah.
BMW or Mercedes-Benz?
Mercedes.
Okay, at least you're redeeming yourself slowly now. Yeah. Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Ronaldo, definitely Ronaldo.
See, you're doing this today, but it's okay. It's okay. What about traveling? Safari holiday or beach holiday?
Beach holiday.
Okay.
It's relaxing. Yeah.
Why?
It's better to relax. I feel like safari, especially being from South Africa, is like
okay.
Yeah.
Then it's like,
exciting.
you've seen a lion in the streets.
You know, like,
No, I'm kidding. Siya, you've studied abroad and are working abroad. First of all, who is Siya? I sort of just went in, guys.
Okay,
but
yeah.
Who's Siya? What did you study? Where are you from? What do you do?
Okay, sounds good. So my name is Siya. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Washington, Seattle campus.
Okay.
Did my undergraduate studies at St. Olaf College in Minnesota and worked in China for 2 years and also studied in China for a semester.
Okay, so wait, where did your abroad journey start? So did you start studying here in South Africa and then move abroad, or like just take us through that?
Yeah, so it started end of grade 11.
Okay.
I went to an international school in Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. Mm-hmm. And then from then on, like doors open to go to the US, and then from the US, then like China, and now back to the US.
Okay, so you left in grade 11. Wow. How was that like?
It was bittersweet because I knew halfway through the year that I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. So I didn't care about school. So that was the fun part. So that was like, I'm just going to school, but like for vibes mostly.
Wow.
But then it was sad of like, like leaving all my friends. Mm-hmm. It was gonna be our matric year,
Yeah.
No matric dance, I used to play hockey, all that stuff,
Yes.
It was just like gone, and then it's like a new life.
Yeah. And then how did that opportunity at grade 11 come about?
So it came about because I knew about this school called United World Colleges. Mm-hmm. Advise anyone who's like in grade 10, 11, look it up, apply. It's a really good program. But my sister had done it before, and then she went to Wales for her studies. So yeah, that's kind of like,
and what sort of things do people or does United is it what United?
Yeah, United World College. Yeah.
What things do they look at in order for you to apply or be like a candidate, a good candidate for studying abroad?
Yeah. So things they look for mainly grades. Your grades have to be fairly good, and then
fairly good, like 52%. Like like fair is very subjective.
Okay, like fairly good, like I don't want to give a number, but like
70.
Yeah, at least, at the very least, 70%,
That's definitely not making it in.
But it's very they look for people who are young, want to be future leaders, and want to like have a positive impact. That they currently like have an impact in their like community, but they would need something to kind of give them that.
So over and above your academics, like what else are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So these are things like what? Volunteering at church?
Yeah, it could be volunteering at church, sports, choir, you know, anything where you can show that it's beyond just like being in the classroom and doing schoolwork, but you actually do things within like your community and your school community and so on.
And then you got in from grade 12 and did your whole grade 12 abroad?
Yeah, so it's a 2-year program.
Okay.
Typically, it would start in August, but my calendar was different because Southern Hemisphere, we start the school year in January rather than August. So
which feels normal, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's normal for us, but like if you wanted to be in that international space, it can make things like difficult. For instance, like if you finish matric and you want to study in the US. You kind of have 9 months off because they start school in August, you know, and you can't leave matric early. So it's like
okay, I got you. Yeah,
you have that time to. It's a fun time because you can like figure things out.
And how's the curriculum? How was the curriculum abroad versus in South Africa?
Yeah, okay, that part I'm not gonna lie. The curriculum is harder.
Really?
It's more intense.
Okay.
But it's also focused more on pushing your thinking, and you get to like express your answers, especially because I did the IB, the International Baccalaureate.
Okay.
But there are different programs, like there are A levels and so on. But it's very different to what you'd get in South Africa. But if you're doing well in South Africa, you can do well in these. Like,
so you shouldn't like be
curriculums as well. It's not like daunting, but but it's not like
Zuckerberg, went there,
true.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So now, does it work similar? I'm not sure if you can speak to this, but then does it work similar if you're in varsity? Let's say you're doing your second year, and just trying to find a program. How would that look like? Because then you went on to do your university outside of South Africa as well.
So you're asking like if you're in varsity and you want to transfer. Abroad.
Study abroad.
Yeah, so that one is it's a different process because you'll need to get your transcripts evaluated so they understand like what is happening, because for instance like an 80% in South Africa in varsity level especially is very good. In Europe it's very good, but in the US it's a B-. But the way they evaluate is very different, right? So in the US, I can write a paper where I'd get 85% for that paper. Here in South Africa, but in the US, I would be getting like 92, 93% for that thing. It's just like it's a different way of evaluating things. So they need like to figure out like, are your grades good or they're not good based on that, and then
take it from there. And then how was it? Because I think you mentioned 2 universities that you studied at, your graduate. I didn't actually get that.
Yeah, okay, so my undergraduate, I was at St. Olaf in Minnesota.
Yeah, and what did you study there?
Okay, so there I had 3 majors. I studied economics, political science, and Chinese.
Like Mandarin or like what?
Yeah, like Mandarin Chinese.
Oh, because I'm like, wait, like I don't want to sound ignorant to our names.
That's the one I focused more, but they called it like the Chinese major because it was beyond just language. It was also like understanding China, especially in the context of like Asian studies and so on. So
Okay. And then what made you like sort of pick that? Like, is it because of what you wanted to be, which we'll get to just now?
True.
Or was it just like, they're paying for this? Oh, how did you actually fund it?
Yeah, that's another thing. So funding, okay, which one I should answer?
Okay, let's first. I have so many questions. Yeah. Okay, let's first talk about your experience with your undergraduate studies.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about your postgrad studies and how you funded both.
Yeah, okay, sounds good, okay. So choosing majors, right? That's the one that happened. So initially I had a plan of studying psychology and economics. At the time I wanted to study like behavioral economics. I was interested in that space. But when I started, there was a foreign language requirement. And I'm like, I speak Zulu, you know? So I'm like, yo.
that should be foreign enough.
It's foreign enough. And it was, but they had to find someone to test me whether I actually can, speak
And
to.
they couldn't find somebody, so they were like,
yeah,
"Let's
they
go."
didn't find someone, so they were like, yo, you have to choose a class, and in high school I'd taken Spanish, so I could have continued with Spanish,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to, like I didn't have a passion for Spanish. It was just like, oh, this is a cool language,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like committed to learning it, so I was like,
ni hao. That's what I know. Yeah.
And then they were like, for Chinese major and the foreign language requirements for Mandarin was 3 courses, like 3 classes. I'm like, I can do 3 semesters of this, and then once I started, it was more of like, okay, I can't stop now,
Yeah.
I need to,
And it's a good
learn
language
it.
to know.
Yeah,
anyway,
it was a useful language.
Yeah.
And then economics, I already wanted to study that. And then political science, it kind of coincided with what was happening in South Africa at the time.
Yeah.
There was this movement like Fees Must Fall. You guys
Yes.
are familiar with that?
We were
Probably.
within.
You were within.
I was
yeah.
within.
Like, we were seeing it like more of like, oh man, this is like really interesting.
Yeah.
And then like, wanting to analyze like the decisions behind it. Economics is not enough on its own to deal with that. It can tell us about the numbers and stuff like that, but how do you get a government to actually commit
Do
to
something.
doing?
Yeah. And then wait, when you speak about your majors, does it work with like, do they then each have their own like modules or subjects within them, or are those in essence your subjects, or like how does it work? Because
so it's like, so I'll talk. So there are 2 types of universities in the US.
okay.
There are your big state universities, which are very similar to South African universities. So they have different schools within the school, right? Like here you have your School of
IT.
Social Sciences, School of IT, School of,
Yeah.
And then you have your liberal arts colleges. So
Okay.
these are smaller 4-year programs where you don't have
Smaller. It's 4 years small. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, it's a standard, it's a standard
Yeah.
amount of time. So there you get to bounce around classes. You don't have to declare a major, what you want to study, till like some schools end of your 2nd year or your beginning of your 3rd year. So there's a general education requirements where you have to take sort of like classes from each school, right? So you have to take a course in science, course in languages, philosophies and so on.
Okay.
And you can test out, because sometimes you can be like, I really want to be, I don't know, like a lawyer, you know, and then you take some law-related courses, you realize that like, this is not for me. I don't enjoy it. I don't like public speaking, or something.
So in South Africa, it seems like we've got like a hybrid university where it's like rural and state or whatever. We've got like some general courses that you can get into that allow you to choose everything, whereas in the US, it's like specifically either you're super general or you are what you are.
Exactly,
okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So then you did your undergrad in political science, economics, and Chinese. Your postgrad or?
So I'm starting postgrad.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because what happened with that is...
In America still?
Yeah, I'm going back to the US.
Okay.
So with postgrad, when I graduated with my majors, my jobs were not related to what I studied at all.
What were your jobs?
And so my first job, I was like an instructor at a university in China.
Okay.
And
wait. I feel like you're skipping so many things.
Yeah,
so you
it's
studied in the US?
I studied in the US, yeah.
Yes.
And while there, that's when I spent a semester in China.
So you were studying abroad?
Yeah, you could kind of, I could phrase it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you got into becoming an instructor in China.
Yeah.
And how did you make that transition, or how did you apply for that? Or when somebody wants to do something similar to you, how do they get there?
There are a bunch of programs where you can apply to that. For me, I applied to the university, It's really helpful if you have language skills because...
Like what kind of language skills? Like what
like
do you have
Mandarin,
now?
Chinese, yeah, sorry. To specify more. Because I was teaching their graduate students just like conversational English courses,
Yeah.
And it was a good university. It's one of the top like public universities in China. Definitely easier like the lower rank the university to get those positions.
Okay.
But the higher the ranking, the more competitive it is to get those
And then
positions.
how do you, what do they look for when you apply? Because I'd assume they'd ask, do you have a visa? Like what are the visa requirements?
Okay, yeah, so visa requirements, this is more general, are usually like, it's more, would you be qualified to get the visa?
Okay.
Because they know they need to hire you and they'll support you, right? But it's like, the visa requirements usually are, do you have a degree, experience, and so on, depending on the type of job you want to do. And if you meet those requirements, then you get to the interview stages for whichever position you apply for.
Yeah.
And if you get it, then it's just like the process of like doing the visa stuff. And it's different for each country, of course. The US is extremely difficult to get a work visa for. It's more of a lottery. Sheesh. And it depends on the type of job you do. So if it's a
critical skill or something.
Yeah, like computer science stuff, it's much easier to get it. But if you're going there for like a financial position, it's much more difficult because the company essentially has to prove like, why should they hire a foreigner instead of someone local?
Yeah, but wouldn't they have to do the same with a computer scientist?
Exactly, but the thing with that is that they don't have many American people studying that and doing well. And the ones who do well usually work for government.
Is it?
Yeah, so they it's harder for the private sector to get those employees.
Really?
Because they get recruited. I mean, it was very cool. I mean, it's movie like you see like FBI or CIA on campus recruiting. And you're like, well, they have to hire someone, right? Like someone needs to do it.
Yeah.
And they have programs and they get people. And
oh, wow. This is like mind-blowing for me. In South Africa, working for government, come on. And like with such a polar opposite or like parallel with how many people are willing, having studied computer science in South Africa and then going to the private sector rather than public sector.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get the job, you get your visa. How do you then move to, like, how do you quantify how much you're actually going to need? Because I think a lot of time you're like, let's study abroad, and then you find out you're actually better off in South Africa not working. Like, how do you...
So calculating like cost or?
Yeah, the cost of living to what they're offering you.
Yeah, so
things to be mindful of.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think with undergrad and graduates is much better, but for undergrad in the US, I'll start with that one. There are funding opportunities from the schools themselves. So if you're applying to a lot of liberal arts colleges, they have financial aid, and you'll have to demonstrate your financial need.
Yeah.
And depending on the school you apply to, so some schools say they will meet 100% of your financial need.
Okay.
So however much you need, they would give you if you are admitted to that school.
Yes.
Whereas other might say we can meet like 98% or like 80% of your financial need.
Jeez.
And then, if you get in, they cover that cost.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you can pay for it, that's great because it helps with getting in as well, because you're a fee-paying student.
And how is it? How easy is it? And I guess maybe depends on your personality or whatever. But once you're in, you've got the funding to start studying there, and like let's say it's your 100% whatever. How easy is it then to get a job? Do you then have to get a different kind of visa because obviously you were there just as a student study visa, and then how do you then get like a part-time job to help back at home or subsidize your living when you're in America or China?
Yeah, so the US is very tricky because you can only work on campus for up to 20 hours a week. And if you work off campus, you have to have been in the country for 9 months and you have to do something that's related to what you're studying.
Okay.
It's something called CPT. I think it's called Curriculum Practical Training.
Okay.
So let's say you're a nursing major. They would allow you to work off campus, let's say
at a clinic
or something.
Hospital,
that would allow you or give you an internship because it's related to what you're studying. But let's say like you're a nursing major, but you want to work at the bank, even though the bank is willing to give you that job, you would not be allowed to do that. So any type of work you would be doing while in undergrad and under those like time limits has to be related to what you're studying.
It makes sense, but
it's a
way of them trying to control. But now, but now that you've got your degree, or let's take me for instance. Let's say now I'm done studying, done with my postgrad, because I know they look at like your 4 years. And they're like, yeah, we can take you seriously now. How do you start applying for a job abroad? Do you join an agency? Do you try your luck? Do you go on the internet? And what's that process like?
Yeah, that process, it really depends on like where you're going. Right? So in China, I had like 2 jobs. I had the one I applied before going, and then once I was there, I switched jobs, you know, because you can find better jobs.
Once you're within.
Once you're within, and then you can switch. So depending on like your qualifications, like if you have work experience, it's a huge plus.
Really?
For me, I didn't, so it was very difficult for me to go. I had like no work experience, fresh graduates. I'm just like, I want to go back to Shanghai. And hire me, I'll be all right. Whereas where you have work experience, it's even easier visa-wise, because the more experience you get, a lot of countries have points-based like visa applications. So like, are you from, it's really helpful. So like knowing the language, depending on the level you know the language, you get more points.
Okay.
Your amount of education, whether you have like a bachelor's, master's, PhD, postgrad, there's more points. Work experience, you know, the more years you've worked, the more they want you. And then the age as well, right? So they want relatively younger people. It's much harder to like go abroad like when you're 50, because like
you want to retire in 10 years. So what's like an ideal age? Like you're 25.
25 up. It's a good age.
25 to 50, or like 25 to 30.
Somewhere there to 30, 35. You know, where even for you it makes sense. You know, where you don't feel maybe you have as many obligations back home, or like things tying you down.
And again, would you then say finding an agency may be better, or doing it yourself? Like what websites are there if you're looking to go abroad?
True, so it really varies by job type. Me personally, I don't use agencies.
Okay.
Because I feel like I can do the stuff on my own. So I feel weird paying someone to do it. But there's definitely a lot of convenience that comes with that.
Because I think a lot of people's fear is, how do you know that you're not being taken for a ride? Like, how do you know?
For me, I mean, it's like you can always see when a company is legit or not. In the same way, like in South Africa, if someone is going to be like, you have this job, I'd want to see like, is this company like a real company? You know, is it more than just a website? But are there other things, you know, are there
like
reviews?
What, Instagram?
You know, when you go on LinkedIn, do they have employees who like say they work there? Are they real? You know, like if you find a company, it has a LinkedIn page, all the employees don't have connections, you know, like it's probably not
like
the
things
best
like
thing.
that.
But when you can see that, okay, this company has, you know, a presence, there are people there. If you call, you know, like address, you can find it on Google Maps or something, you know, like it's...
Hey, these scammers are... I know. They can do things.
Yeah. It's just, you
but
know, I mean, of course there's going to be risk, but for the most part, especially when it's visa related, it's unlikely that like a fake company can get you a visa to go to a place, you know, like, because essentially there has to be a company wherever you go that's saying like, we're hiring this person, we're responsible for this person. So, I mean, it can happen sometimes that when you get there, it's a real company, it's just like a horrible company, you know. And they don't pay you on time, you know, things like that. That you can't control, because that can happen anywhere.
Yes.
There's people here, I mean, like,
with the real companies,
not being paid. So it can definitely happen. So definitely be cautious of that, you know. There are many like things like Glassdoor where people like talk about the experiences at a company, and they can say like, don't work for this or work for this, you know, like, and you can.
And then how much, when you are sort of doing what you're doing, like without needing agency, are you looking to need, or how much should you be paying, like a range to apply for your visa, whatever the case may be, or that kind of thing?
So the nice part about if you do everything on your own, you're essentially paying for visa fees or anything you need that's visa related, right? So if you need your transcript to be sent somewhere and you have to pay for that, you're paying for that. You know?
They don't want like an email copy.
No, you have to send like the official number on transcript, right? You have to,
Not even a copy, like the
because
real
you can
thing.
make the fake, you know, everyone can, you can
Ah,
fake
no.
transcript. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to send them your official transcripts and everything. So like those costs, it's very transparent when you do it on your own because you know exactly what you need and how much you can get. Whereas when you use an agency, for example, they can like say things cost this much when they don't. Like for example, when I lived in China for one of the jobs I was getting when I was switching jobs, the company was paying for an agency. So it wasn't me paying for it.
Oh, okay.
So I had no choice there, but I'm like, fine, if it's their
If that's what you
money,
want to
know?
do, yeah.
And there they needed to get my transcripts and like what do you call that thing? Authenticated by a Chinese consulate, you know.
Oh, jeez.
But since I studied in the US, there was a way to actually do it from within China's education system.
Okay.
To show that, and the cost is very, very low when you do that.
What's
But
very low? Like,
I'm just comparing it to the other. I don't remember the cost of that one, but the alternative was around 4,000 rand when the guy at the
agency
was doing it, right? And when he's doing it, I realized that he's doing the exact same thing that he submits it through this thing. And the cost was about 10 times lower or 10 or 12 times lower than the fee that they charge. You
with
know?
the agent.
Yeah, and that thing is very like easy. You go on the website and you type in information and then they say wait 2 days and they confirm like, oh yeah, and then they send you the thing.
Yeah.
So that's what the guy was doing. But then if you're paying for that, it's like, is it worth it, you know, or is it better if you do it on your own?
Yeah.
But if you don't know about that thing, of course, it's better to just pay for an agent who will do everything the right way and you get your visa.
And hopefully your agent is not taking you for a ride also.
Exactly,
kind of a thing.
yeah. Because that's what this agent did, you know. It was like very weird. He called me, he's like, is your degree real? I'm like, what do you mean, you know? But yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. But how has your overall experience been with working abroad and studying abroad? Like, what was your expectation and then what is the reality of it all?
Yeah, so expectation and reality, I think for both experiences, just completely far apart. Like, the US, you go there, and I mean, for my case, you know, I'm expecting like a movie type of college experience. It's nothing of the sort, you know, it's very different. The things that will become problems for you are things you might not think of. For me, it was weather. Coming from South Africa, it's not just necessarily a warm place, but we actually feel the sun and we get the benefits of feeling the sun.
Yeah.
But in a place like Minnesota, it's cold and you physically don't feel the sun. And that like actually affects how you feel, right? It's like seasonal affective depression. And I had that, like, it's like, I was extremely moody and grumpy. I'm in the winter months and I'm like, this is not me as a person. And then, you know, you have to figure out, okay, I need to get a sun lamp or something like vitamin D to be
a sun lamp. Like, what does that look like? Does it look like one of these?
Yeah, it's kind of, it has a smile on it. It's very cute. And then it like, I don't know how it does it, the science behind it, but it kind of like emits rays almost as if it's the sun, and like your mood can like get boosted. It's pretty.
Jeez. So that was your biggest reality or expectation change? Or just like,
that was my biggest one. Yeah. And then it's very different for different people. You know, being away from family for other people, it's like it like affects their mood and a lot. You know, especially like for some people, like they're leaving like their younger siblings behind them, and seeing them grow, not being there, it affects them. But for me, like I wasn't in a similar position, so I could just go. And not worry, knowing that like, oh, I'll come back.
Emotions, just like, yeah, bye guys.
No, it's like, you know, you just know that you can like video call, come back, you'll see them, you know, because everyone already kind of has their own life anyway. So it's like, it's not like I'd be seeing them every day, you know. So it's more of like, okay, this can work out, you know.
Jeez, you just didn't want to be in South Africa. Just say it. And what did you like most, the US or China?
For me, China, Shanghai.
Really?
Yeah, Shanghai is like favorite city. It's
what?
Like you can live very cheap and you can also like spend a lot of money. It depends on you, but you can always have fun. You know, like it's also just so international, extremely convenient. No need for a car. You know,
really?
That's another thing that you also be like. I still can't drive because of that. Everywhere you live, the transit has been great. So if
Yeah.
you ever felt the need like to drive, but you probably should do that. But it's like, it's convenient. There's like a train in Shanghai every like 3 minutes that
Yeah.
takes you wherever you need to go.
While you were talking about that, I actually thought of something. What about like the health care? Like how's that? Do you need to like get some kind of medical aid, or like how does it all work?
So typically, like for both the US and China, if you are studying there, you have to have health insurance.
Mm-hmm. Is that like medical aid, or is it like literally health insurance?
It's like medical aid kind of. Yeah, it has your covers, you know, things it covers, things it doesn't cover. The most important one you should look for is would it cover sending? I mean, it's a bit morbid, but like if you were to die, in those countries, it's very expensive to be like sent back, you know. So a lot of health insurances would cover that, but you have to look for it and make sure that they do.
Yeah.
Because anything could happen, you know. And you don't want your family faced with like huge fees while they're grieving that you just passed on. And and then typical
just
things.
Like regular. Would you just say like no hospital cover is fine?
Yeah.
If you get like day to day, just eat ginger.
Exactly.
And move on with your life.
And most schools, companies would like show you your options that you have.
Yeah.
For universities, they tend to just tell you like, this is the health plan we have for international students. It's generally good, but I've heard of some schools that might not have good coverage. But for the most part, it's usually good. Yeah. And it covers those basic things.
And when you're working, you'd obviously just have to shop around for yourself rather than for them coming to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And like now with COVID and all of that, how has that been in terms of you working abroad and now studying abroad in between as well? Like how you're in South Africa now and people don't like us. So
I know. It's a tough one. So for me, COVID, I was in Shanghai when it happened. Jeez. So we had
how was that
kind of a lockdown. I mean, it was like scary because we didn't know what it was. Yeah. And everything was closed. But like
immediately, like from March already, or like beginning of January?
From January.
Really?
From January. By March, things were opening up. That's what was different. When everything was starting in the world, my life was kind of getting back to normal, right? Because my birthday is in April, and I remember I was like, I wonder if I'll be able to go out on my birthday. Yeah. And I was like, we were like out as if like there was never COVID.
Really? Like no mask? Like
no
stay
mask.
away?
We were inside like clubs. It was crazy, but it was there were no cases in the city at the time. So it's like
because they had like a complete shutdown, lockdown. Like, no people were coming in, no people were leaving. Yeah.
Like even now, borders are still closed. Like
so
you can't just go like there right now, like from anywhere. So
what's gonna happen to you when you need to go back? You're here now.
Now I'm going to the US now. That's why I can't go back to Shanghai. Yeah. But already I was already planning to stay a year. I've had some visa issues of staying. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? It's a bit time to study. And for now, studying COVID had benefits and positives.
Yeah, whatever.
Like there's no GRE or Gmat requirements for a lot of programs. So for graduate school, you need to usually do a GRE test it's a graduate something examination. I forgot what the R stands for. Or a GMAT that focuses on math. But it's essentially like a standardized test to show that you are competent enough to study. Yeah. Yes. And it really helps, especially if you're applying from abroad, because they might look at your grades and not understand them, you know, even with the evaluations. Yeah. But then they look at your GRE scores or your GMAT scores, they're like, okay, but this person will be able to get through the program. And then for undergrads, it would be the SATs or ACT tests that would do that to just show them that like, okay, I can do this, you know? Yeah.
So now you're saying with COVID, you don't have to do those tests? Or?
Yeah, for a lot of programs, they were just like, you can't do them. Exactly, because like in South Africa, to do a GRE test, there are specific locations to go, but there was a lockdown. So it's not fair to say South Africans can't come this year.
Yeah.
Well, these people in that country can't come, so they were just like they'll just waive it for this year.
Really?
Yeah.
So now is your time. I am if you want to study abroad.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But how much does it cost if like on a normal basis if you're gonna go take the GRET test or GRET?
It's expensive. It's a couple $100. I don't know the exact figure.
It's like, so we're thinking like 10, 30,000.
Yeah, no, it's like
or like your 5,000 range or more.
I think lower. I'm not sure on the exact figure. The one I'm sure of is application fees. Application fees, I think on average around $90 per school. Right?
Okay.
So if you're applying, because you won't apply to one school, you'll apply probably to 3, 4, 5 schools.
Application.
To make sure you get in, and then there are visa fees, which also are high for the US. Much lower for China, but funding. Also, China has great funding. That's something I forgot to say.
Oh.
There's something called the Chinese Government Scholarship, and it covers all your tuition costs, housing costs. It gives you a stipend on top of that. So,
but you'd have to wait for COVID to sort of finish.
Yeah, after COVID, exactly. Yeah, because right now you can't fly in, but hopefully next year, if you do that.
Jeez, yeah. If you have more questions, because I know we're running out of time, where can they get a hold of you if they want to talk to you, or do you want them to talk through us?
Yeah,
you can do that. Alright, yeah. Cool. Cool. Any closing advice or something you want to say to our IMers that are looking to either study or work abroad that I might have forgotten to ask?
I'd say, I guess my thing is for graduate studies, there's almost always scholarships and funding for those programs. The earlier you apply though, right? That was my mistake, is that because I was just doing it kind of like very late, I missed a lot of like financial aid opportunities because you can almost like always do those programs and have it funded by something, you know? Especially if you have the grades and you know you've got into the program. Whether it's like from the South Africa side, you're getting the funding, or from that institution. So there's a lot of funding opportunities. So that shouldn't like deter you. Like the money shouldn't be what worries you. It's more about, can you get in? Like just do that first. The money, there's always going to be a way to get the money. Financial aid, those offices as well, they tend to be really helpful to make sure that you can pay and get through it. But it's just getting in that's like
that should be a problem.
But once you've passed that step, everything else will fall into place. But
And what about working abroad?
Yeah, working abroad, that one is not as the same. That one, you really need to
get that work experience.
Yeah, get that work experience, and then your cover letter, I can't stress this enough, is usually what's gonna get you in, right? And how you phrase things on your resume, right? Like it shouldn't look like your job description, right? Like if you should, like if I don't know, if you work somewhere and you say like I managed a team of 40 people, that's great, but also like what did you do? What did you achieve, right? So saying like we did this and then achieved this, there's a result. Like that, and then you have a cover letter that makes you interesting as a person. That's going to get the person from HR to be like, okay, maybe I'll reach to this person from South Africa to actually hire them, you know, like or at least talk to you and get you to the interview stage. And then you can get the position, especially if it's for a place like Canada where the work visa is much easier to get.
Really?
Sheesh.
Thank you
it's
for that snippet of advice. But IMS, if you do have any questions, Siya does want to hear straight from you. So come to us and we'll talk to Siya. But again, thank you for watching, and Siya, thank you so much for making the time to meet with us. Travel safe.
Thanks.
You must tell them in China we're eating ginger, we're fine.
Right.
Thank you for watching, and we out.
Peace.